Here today. Testing. Can you hear me?
Sounds good. I didn't hear anything from you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the October 2024 meeting of the St. Mary's County Library Board of Trustees. We do have a quorum, so we can begin. We'll start with some introductions. My name is Michael Dunn. I'm the president. John? Vice President.
Dorothy Waters.
John Winters.
Justice Setlack, Treasurer.
Thanks, everybody. we are able to move forward. The first item is the approval of the agenda. We have the rare double-sided agenda today. That bodes well. So can we entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
I make two additions first that will not take much time and are informational.
Okay.
This will be under 7A after 9. I would like to talk about a security update at Lexington Park. And after that, talk about state standards. And these were things that just arrived yesterday. So I'm let you informed, but I'm not going to ask for action on them. And that will go before what is the current 10 staff day, save the date. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so we're looking at section 8, Roman numeral 8A, under the informational part of the director's report. So we can entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those two additions, the security update at Lexi and the state standards.
So moved.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you, Dorothy. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, motion passes. Next up is approval of the September 2024 minutes. We can entertain a motion to approve these minutes. Thank you, John. Can we get a second? And then we'll have some, thank you, Judith. All right. A moment for discussion.
Because probably for clarity purposes, on the back page, Roman 8, subsection A, Little Roman 4, moving to a non-managed fund. I think they should move non-managed account.
Okay, I see. So John, you're on page 2, section 8, under the asset strategy.
Yeah.
Discussion of the board. So section A4. Okay. So the very last word, M. Dunn recommends reevaluating the asset management contract and possibility of changing vendors or moving to a non-managed fund. You're saying instead of fund, it should say non-managed account.
Account is correct.
We'd have to go back and look at the meeting minutes and see if that was the exact word used, which it might very well have been. And I think it's okay for you to say that this is a correction and accept that as the exact word that you'd be used.
Well, let me ask you this, rather than back and forth, if we just added a parentheses and put account, so.
Well, I'm not suggesting we go back and look at the meeting minutes, but I think it's fine to do exactly as you have just said. Okay.
So then, could you amend the motion?
Amend the motion to read or moving to a non.
Those brackets instead of parens. John. Okay. Can we get a second for that motion to amend?
Second.
Thank you, Judith. All in favor of that motion to amend, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Okay. So then, can we get a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Judith.
Second.
Thank you, Tressa. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye. 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 Great. Minutes are approved as amended. Thank you, John. Next up, we've got the EALs. All right, so can we entertain a motion to approve the EALs before that question?
Um, I-
Last evaluated level three was a provider 3 years ago, and there wasn't anybody we could really count on otherwise. But I do think that's something that we want to look at because that was more expensive. So
How does that work?
not actually, but just build them. Um, Substantial amount of work that they do. The county does most monthly maintenance.
On page 2 then, second from the top, for 14,398.
Yeah, those are our Wi-Fi hotspots.
The top one on page 2, Washington Gas. Who uses Washington Gas? The hall?
Here's the Washington Gas.
Okay. And like next door.
Yeah. That's for heating. Yes, it's for heating. Yeah, those are those individuals in the library. Seriously.
Talking. Keep talking now. Is looking at you.
He needs to go away, but still needs that for the budget.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm fine. Yeah. Not bad. Yeah. I want to eat around somewhere. It's fine to discuss. Yes.
Hey folks, this is AM.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me clearly?
No.
The audio on my end is pretty garbled and intermittent, kind of spotty.
Okay. What's that, Amy?
And the sound is still a challenge.
Can you hear us now?
Dan, is that working? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Michael, I can hear you much better now.
All right.
Turn these off now.
We can turn these off.
This is the microphone.
I see. All right. So folks, we can turn off our microphones here. And that white thing on the table is the microphone.
We have to a little bit back.
Okay. All right.
If you could to take them closer, is that possible or is that not enough?
Okay, well, let's carry on. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the work. Carrying on, any other questions about the EAS?
Two questions, please, on page 4 of 5. At the halfway point, gap first, 54.4. That a quarterly or a
No, that's monthly.
monthly?
That's a monthly.
And then dropping down to 4
bottom. I thought we had completely paid for the strategic.
We did, and we sent a check, and they never received it. We have documentation of having done that. So we have followed up with that, and yes, it had been paid for, and now, it's closed out.
I never got the,
They did not get the check, it has been canceled, and we've done it through an ACH payment this time.
thank you.
Mhm.
That was my question also. So this is actually FY 24 funds
Yes.
out of a grant
Yeah.
that would, okay. So it's already recorded in FY 24's expense.
And it has to go back and be put into the audit for last year.
That's what I was thinking.
Exactly, yes.
This is Belinda. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, we can.
it is FY 24, but this is basically a zero out within this budget because we got the money back in this year and we sent it back out in this year. So it is in FY 24. It was recorded in FY 24. So this zeroes out in FY 25.
Thanks, Belinda. All right, perfect.
What is the item on the bottom of the first page?
That is our door counter. So we would give you statistics about how many people come into the library. We have counters on the door, and that's where we get that information. Sorry, monthly. No, actually, that's going to be an annual expense. That
Yes, annual.
and not monthly.
So we're done for.
We're done for that for the year.
All right, any other questions? So we have a motion on the table to approve the ALs. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, the motion passes. Okay, President, Treasurer's report, over to you.
So as you can see by the report that you have in front of you, all of the accounts are free, the Vanguard and the Schwab account all seen an increase in value. Thanks to the growing market. The Vanguard Original has seen a positive change in value of $7,283 and some change. And the Rudolph has seen an upward climb by 1,576 and change. The Schwab account, from the beginning of the year to now, is seeing a $145,000 approximate up change in value. And as far as the check for intern, Belinda, I have to get with you to do that transfer.
So that comes out of the Rudolph fund.
If that's
And it was around $3,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So with increase in value, are you going from January 1st?
for the Schwab account is from January 1st.
No, I'm talking about the Vanguard.
No, they are the quarters. It's from June 30th, so July 1 to 9/30 at 1.
Thank you.
That's a bond account. That sounds like an awful thing.
The original.
Bond account, I can believe. Bond raising background.
Very fine.
Maybe check into that for the next one. What? 7,218. That's an increase. The increase in bond fund for 3 months.
Well, the set of shares, that's our starting number of shares we own.
That's not the dollar amount.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
read that. I meant to share the value. I'm sorry. My
Yes.
apologies.
3,200 is.
Yeah, it's $32,291.07.
Sorry, I read my own.
Okay.
I'm done.
And we don't need to approve this report, correct?
Sorry, my apologies. I can't read my own stuff.
All right, thank you, Trustee.
I only do it once a quarter, so. Practice enough.
Little rusty.
In practice.
All right, John, over to you for the Smirla report, please.
All right.
On the presentation.
Mobilized and the policy. CEOs spending each year, that money to be spent over 3 to 5 years. It has to be only for one-time expenses. 24th of the premium conference to hire a consultant to develop our strategic plan. That's something that's part of our work. Thank you, John. Any questions? Check the auditor is Mark Murphy, DeBlanc. Where are they from? I believe they're Charles. I can look that up. I'm pretty sure they're Charles. You know how much? I don't have to keep it that far. Thank you very much, John. Michael, over to you.
All right. Well, we've got quite a few celebrations today. The first is a 5-year anniversary of employment. That's for Rosa Nakamoto. Rosa is one of our outreach librarians. She is fluent in both Spanish and English, and does a great job, especially on communities where, for example, the food pantry, many times people will show up who do not have English, and so they really appreciate her efforts. As to all of us, Rosa, congratulations on 5 years in employment. Quite a number of hip hip hoorays today. The first is for Amy Ford. So I did what library directors do. Somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, here's this author. Wouldn't you like to have a visit?" And I said, "Of course we would. Amy, please take care of that." And it really was a lot of work. She had to work with the author representatives, and we made it a statewide program with Lynchburg County. So there was a lot of work involved with getting this all pulled together, including working with the friends to sell the books. And she just made everything happen. It was a great visit. We had over 80 people there in person, hundreds online. The friends sold 52 books. And that's the best known author we've had since 1985, when Mr. Tom Clancy came, when he was just getting to be known. Very excellent work, Amy. Thank you so much. And here is your gift program.
That really would not have happened without a huge team of people, including Laura here with all of our marketing, AM found us an interpreter, Jill worked the event with so many behind the scenes stuff, Brittany handled all of the book pieces for sales and for getting the authors, the signing going, Tim for setting up the AV. It was a huge team of people, so I couldn't be more grateful to have these folks on board with that program. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Really was. And the next is for support for Lexicon. Lexicon is an event at Lexington Park Library, where especially young people come and cosplaying, and there's activities and support for literacy. So this is for Connor Roberson, Andy Tidings, Brent Nakamoto, Jake Parsons, Kimberly Fields, and Ashley Carroll. Thank you for your contributions and insights to create an exciting Lexicon for 2024. Lexicon brings great enjoyment to our community as one of the largest annual events for St. Mary's County Library. Your creativity, organization, teamwork, and expertise help to make Lexicon a success. We have one for Ziggy Smith, who is here today. Ziggy, in recognition of their exceptional compassion, empathy, and support provided to a fellow coworker during a time of personal crisis. And we are greatly appreciative of that. So on Tuesday, October 22nd, that would be next Tuesday, Allison Guy is going to receive an Innovative Programming Award from the St. Mary's County Commission for People with Disabilities. She does a special program that allows people who have different abilities to come to the library, do crafts, learn, and she is being honored with that. It will be about 11:30, I see on the schedule, if you were planning on attending. The county commissioners are first meeting with the school. They're back at 11. They've got quite a number of things they're going to do first, but sometime between call it 11:15 and 11:30, Allison should get her award. So if you'd like to come out as Trustees, you're certainly welcome to do so.
That's how.
Yes, wonderful work. So moving on, the first item, number one, fiscal year 24 budget review and audit. The audit is not here yet. That is no reflection on anybody's work here at St. Mary's County. We have turned in everything that we need to. The actuarial report from Bolton did not arrive until late September. And ASCII is still working, or was still working last week on a report about our physical assets, which are included in this for depreciation's sake. So we have a couple of options here. If the audit draft were to come in, now typically what happens is this one that I look at it and I add a managerial statement, but I can, when it comes in, straight to you, and you could look at it, formulate questions, we'll get them back to the auditor, say we need these ASAP, and you could have a special meeting before November 1st. However, it's not like anything bad is going to happen. The state librarian will say, here's your audit. I'll say, it's coming, here's a draft, and you could approve it for next month. Now, as soon as we get it, if you want to form a task force to look at that, form your questions, and we can get those answered before the next meeting, that will work too. I want you to have ample time, however, because you were concerned last year that you did not have as much time to review the audit as you would like. So we will make sure that happens.
Thank you. I think that if you could send it to us as soon as you receive it, that would be great.
Yeah.
And I think if you can just let the state librarian know, it's not going to happen. Right. And I think otherwise we're kind of falling the same pitfall we were in last year.
Yeah, we're not going to be the only library that has had anything of the November 1st. So that will, listen, I do, however, want to make sure you have time to review it and have all your questions answered.
Not to be snarky, but are those libraries sorry,
Yeah. We have a couple of them do USSD and companies, but we get them primarily because that's who the county has contracted with, and we get a very good rate because we go with the county. So the county does have SD and company as well. I would say in this case that SD and company, since they're not getting the 2 reports they need by, say, the first of this month, probably are not really on the hook first. It does take time to put it together. I'm sure they've got much of a draft finished, but oh, I forgot I get Ray. It wasn't on my list. Belinda, I hope you're still here. Belinda, so late one, like Thursday afternoon, when I was not going to be here on Friday, I went up to start the library van to do an errand up to Charlotte Hall, and it didn't start. So I came back in and said, okay, it doesn't start, we'll take care of it. Well, on Friday, Belinda went out and jump started it and took it over to Chelsea Dine, and it needed a new battery. So Linda got the library van running again. So Belinda, thank you for service above and beyond on other duties that are not assigned to you. So give him a record. So she said she didn't want one, but I'm sorry you get one anyway.
Any thoughts on the audit? Would we want to make a task force within the board? Any thoughts on how to proceed when we do receive it?
Well, I think you got to the delays, so the delays with ASCII and ASCII.
My understanding from Belinda is that they were still working on a report in this month.
Yes, that is correct. They are working on the fixed asset. We gave that to them in mid September. Erica has been working on that off and on. She, of course, has other duties and has other audits she's working on. I do work very closely with her, and she is very good at it, but this one has delayed her. So I was in touch with her on Tuesday this week, and answering some final questions on that. So I'm hoping that she'll have it by Monday, but I'm not sure.
So, yeah, Judith, see the years turn.
Yeah. No, I don't see where a task force would help us. All should help through it and come in for questions next month or send them in by email.
If you want to email me any questions you have, I will compile those and make sure the auditor sees them, and we will ask that they be answered as soon as possible. If I could have it by, let's see,
We don't know.
our next meeting
We don't know
is,
if we're getting the audit yet. So
yeah, exactly.
but I'm wondering if we should have the auditors ongoing questions versus the email back and forth. Sometimes you just don't get a fully.
And we can ask them to attend next month's meeting if you would prefer that.
I
Okay.
probably would put that on there and we can always cancel it, but it'd be better to have them on there.
My ultimate question is, do our fixed assets vary that much from year to year? Why are they not building off last year's itemization?
Well, we discard books, we add books. The collection may not be the same. We add furniture and equipment over the years. So I don't know that these fixed amounts are going to be the same. They probably have to do them each year in any case.
This is Belinda. We do add on from the previous year. It is a continuation. However, this year we had to add the mobile library for the first time. So that's an entirely new fixed asset report that they have to do. We have fixed asset reports for four buildings now. Each one is reported separately. And she has to tie all of that to our general ledger. And also it's been a work in progress to get this correct and up to date, because it's been a little wonky over the last, not the last few years, but before that. So it is still a work in progress that Erica and I have been working on for several years. And again, we had to add an entirely new department.
So we'll ask them to come next month, the auditors that is, and if questions are not answered prior to that, and when we get it, which I hope will be soon, plan to look at it.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
The fiscal year 25 budget review, a couple things for you. 25% of the budget is elapsed. 25% of the year is elapsed, I'm sorry. And we look at personnel services, you'll see that the salaries are at 23%. So that's good, we're under, and please remember that for a later item I shall be presenting to you. Health insurance at 27%. The dollar amounts above are not that large, but that is slightly above where we had anticipated it would be. We'll just keep our eye on that one. We will be receiving a $30,000, we think, we still don't know for sure, but it looks like we'll be receiving a $30,000 refund from the expenses from last year that the county gives us. And that will certainly offset any increase in that budget area. We can put it towards that if you so desire. Looking on, I would say that most things are well within tolerance. We are a bit above on electric so far this year for Lexington Park. And that has raised their utilities up some, but again, we'll keep our eye on that. Hall landscaping you saw has gone into the red. We'll have to make an adjustment for that eventually. Over on page 3, you'll see digital collection is 98% spent. That's because we front load Hoopla. So we've got invoices that we write, and remember that every time somebody checks something out from Hoopla, we pay. We have taken out the highest tier of items, which for us was only $2.49 for Hoopla, and the use has slowed somewhat. So we think that we'll be able to keep that within budget. But again, that one continues to grow, so we'll have to keep our eye on Hoopla as an expense.
How much is the slower we talk?
Well, it's hard to say from what it would have been, but typically it was going in the 15 to 16%, and I think it was down to like 12. So, you know, it doesn't have quite as much expense as it had been having in terms of the items, but people continue to use it as a very popular service.
So, for the stuff question, you're limiting the selection. And that's by taking off high price items?
Yeah. So what happens is we say we can't do those, and Andrew was fine with that. And then they do not show up in our version of the example. I would say that Charles County and Calvert County have not made that cut. So if you look at their version of the app, it looks like there might be more there. But of course, we're primarily concerned about our users.
Are the higher priced items also the ones that might be highest in demand?
They tend to be the most current audiobooks, and yes, they are in very high demand. That's the single most expensive line of all for Hoopla for us, are people listening to audiobooks. So public, if you're listening, please switch over to our wonderful Palace app, where there are now 8,000 titles that are anytime checkout. But we already have paid for them, so we don't get charged every time. Great selection from Blackstone Audio. This brought you by your St. Mary's County Library.
So true.
So yes, over time, the audiobooks would be not as expensive. They don't go down in price a whole lot, but something that might have been $2.99 for checkout will go to $2.49, and then eventually it will go lower still. And we just we're trying to keep Hoopla because it's so popular, but not have it break the name.
So we've talked in the past a lot about Hoopla and the challenge that we're looking at budget-wise. Does this solution that you've identified and implemented, does this seem like a long-term place where we can land, or do you think other adjustments will be made as we see how it goes?
I would like to have another couple of months before I really speculate on that. I'd like to see at least half the year go by and we can see where we are. I am concerned about it. The next step will probably be, now we've already started limiting more than many libraries, the number of checkouts per month. But so we could lower that still more down to say 2. And I think still keep a lot of use of that, but maybe cut the cost some. But I would like to see where we are at least halfway through the year. I am concerned we might not be able to keep it.
We have
Yes, it's currently, is it 5 or is it 5? Yeah, 5 items per month. But what we're finding is that most people are not checking out 5. We don't have, all kinds of, just a few users saying, I'm checking out 5 this month. It tends to be 1 or 2. And so the number of overall users keeps going up, which is why we didn't already cut that as a limit.
I really appreciate your efforts to thread the needle on this, to be responsive to usage patterns and everything.
Well, our Sarah Stevenson does a great job tracking this and trying to help us figure it out. So Sarah, thank you for all the information you give us. In any case, on page...
John, do you want to jump in?
Is there any hint of why the Lexington Electric has spiked?
I cannot tell you that. I will say that we did have a fairly warm late, you know, fairly warm late quarter. September or August was very, very warm, and it's air conditioning more than likely.
With the addition of the makerspace there.
The makerspace is not active yet, so that's not going to have any impact yet. Will it? No, those are not high impact devices, and many of them are in fact manual rather than as a use makerspace rather than electric. So, you know, a button maker is electricity. I don't think that's going to affect it. We just need to see. I mean, people have a mild winter and move on. On page 4, you'll see that furniture and equipment expenses were at 38%, but that's no surprise. We often will front load those and then not buy as much later in the year. And on that same page, our grand total of unrestricted expenses is 24% as opposed to 25% in the year passing. So far we're within budget.
Michael, can I, on the furniture and equipment, the reason we're at 38% is because we've paid the first portion of the AV equipment.
Okay. Yes. That was also in the expenses. It was 82,000, something like that. That's paid up front. Thank you, Belinda. I'm sorry, what equipment? It's the audiovisual equipment at Charlotte Hall and Lexington Park that the county gave us additional funds for. I will say that those funds are going to appear not up front in one lump sum, but be given to us over the year. So we'll have the second payment of that in December when it's done. So it's possible that there'll be a little bit of catch up over the year on the overall total budget. But even at 82,000, it's not going to be a hugely significant amount. But thanks, Belinda. So if we look over on page 6, you see that so far we've only got 20% of our funding in from the state and from the county. So we did have to dip into the MGLIP account this time because otherwise we would be able to make salary. But that money, when it comes back in, will go back into the MGLIP account. So the fund balance it's not going to affect the fund balance there, but just a note that we did have to dip into what you call our fund balance. I'm very pleased that the 31% of services income and fines income are a little bit higher than we anticipated at some point. I hope we can consider going fine free, but when we go to the county and ask for fairly large increases in this, I guess what we're not going to take fines, it doesn't look quite as convincing, I think. There is a strong argument to benefit all our library users and for eliminating fines, but that will be something we'll take a look at coming up. So any questions that you have about where we are with the budget? We're moving over to the first quarter of fiscal year 25 statistics, and there's some very good news, and then there's some rather strange news that we've been looking into. So the very good news would be our events up 21% and their attendance up 9%. Meeting room use up 14%. And I'm only looking, you have all 3 months, and then I have just the summary of the quarter, and that's all I'm going to be reviewing with you. Our number of visitors is up 7%. Our computer use is down 3%, but that's not so surprising. As, for example, our Wi-Fi use goes up 10% and people get their own devices. So we had more visitors, we had more programs. Typically, that would result in an increase in circulation, and we just didn't see it this quarter. The circulation of materials is down 6%. digital is up 12. That's not surprising. That's maybe slightly less than it has been in the past, but then you see Google is there at 13%. So why a decline in circulation when we are seeing more people in the library? And so Sarah looked at it for us, and we hypothesized it's DVDs, and it turns out, yes, that is the case. I don't know if it hit this quarter particularly hard, but we in libraries are concerned about streaming. And that's increasingly the way that content is being shared. And until somebody puts out a physical version of a streaming item, libraries don't have access to it. So preserving the intellectual record is tough for us. Just providing access can be difficult. And as more and more people are starting to rely on streaming, we'll start to see the circulation of physical discs go down. It's kind of just like with audiobooks. Not that many people are doing audiobooks on disc anymore. Cars these days don't even come out with a disc player. I think we can see that the physical medium of moving discs will eventually go away, and that's going to be a dilemma for libraries. But we are seeing the circulation of our DVDs go down. So I think that's part of the pause there. Yeah.
I wonder if we'll get to a point where the library will offer a 2-week Netflix pass or a 2-week TikTok, whatever. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like this will come eventually. We're just not there yet.
And there are some streaming services that you can get. They don't tend to be very robust yet. But yes, the real issue will be trying to get a major vendor, let's just say Netflix, to work with libraries. And I suspect that we're going to find that they're going to react the same way the publishers do about ebooks, which is kind of like, nah, we don't have to do that. We're going to get a lot more money if people have to buy it individually than if people get it from the library. So it might end up being so expensive for libraries that it's going to be a challenge. That is something that we're having to look at in libraries as technology develops. So yes, so lots to be happy about, but we're looking at that circulation to saying, okay, why? Okay, the other circulation thing that's not such good news. If you look at the very end of page 2, we see tri-county circulation. Humboldt Library's got up 20%. Now, if you haven't been up to see the Twin Beaches Library, you really should. It's right on the Chesapeake. They put a lot of money into it. I think more than this entire facility, even though I think it's about 70,000 square feet. It's beautiful, and that library circulation has just skyrocketed. So they're seeing, because of that new facility, just like here in St. Mary's County, when Lexington Park for years was the busiest library in Southern Maryland, now it's Leonard. More people coming here, more circulation here. So we think that makerspace in Lexington Park and a revisit of Charlotte Hall will help drive up our circulations and more. When you build it, they do come. So we see Calvert is doing very well in circulation. Yeah, they still haven't eclipsed us in total. Yes.
On that facility, if it was that nice, did they get corporate support or where did all the money go?
It's primarily county, then state grants. They got at least $3 million in state grants for that, just like we hope to get money for our Charlotte Hall location. I got $1.6 million here.
Used to be that Tower got quite a bit of property tax. Still the case.
That is still the case.
Have to trickle down.
Well, there's some schools over there.
Moving on to our summer reading program statistics. Speaking of more good news, you've got a sheet for those and see that number registered, since compared to last year has gone up from basically 28,052 from 2,662. And our 2019 was our best year for COVID when it was 2,548. And you see, so the number of registered has gone up. The number of participants has gone down slightly from last year, but the number of completions has gone up. So more people registered for the program, more people finishing the program. And that's, it's nice to see that probably our signature literacy program going up. So more good news there.
You did have 1,808 t-shirts.
Yes.
We also give out tote bags, so you can get a t-shirt or a tote bag. Oh, but we do give out a lot of t-shirts.
Yeah, well, a lot of t-shirts, yes.
Who takes the lead on that program?
That would be Laura and Jill are the leads on that program. Laura with adult programming, Jill with children's programming. And all of our staff do programs throughout the summer, and it's a big blitz for us. So I have to say that while Jill and Laura are the organizers, it's an all hands effort. So we do have a tactical plan for the year, and it is for the full year. So by the end of June, we would hope to have most items checked off. But I'd just like to review with you a few that we have already done or that are being worked on an ongoing basis, because some of these things, they'll never be done. It's just sort of like, what are we doing about them this year? So I've got an X in the box where the checklist box where we've done quite a bit. We are looking at keeping cupola, and we have added anytime content to Palace. And if you look at those statistics, you see that the use of Palace, while not approaching that of cupola, is starting to go up. And we are making media blitz to try to get people to convert over to Palace, which has all the content of Livy plus 4. We did eliminate one higher cost on Hopeful, the 249 audio books, and that brought September use down some. So we're keeping an eye on Hoopla and wanting to keep it, but just want to make sure that it's sustainable for us. Over on the next page, Unified Name of Vendors is St. Mary's County Library. So for the longest time, our official DUNS number was St. Mary's County Memorial Library. That dates from years and years and years back. So before I got here, the name was changed at the IRS to St. Mary's County Library, but they never changed that DUNS name. But we have. We have changed the DUNS name. So that's important for any number of reasons. When, for example, we want to have our St. Mary's County app in Android, and Google looks at it and says, you're the St. Mary's County Memorial Library, not the St. Mary's County Library. We're not going to put your app in the Play Store. So now it's all unified that way. We're going back with any vendor who still calls the St. Mary's County Memorial Library and changing the name over. So that is not a big thing, but it's just nice that we are able to do that. We know as a government agency that we don't have to have our name in the list of Maryland business names. We're not a business. And our IRS name is correct. We are a component agency of St. Mary's County, we have discovered from our accounting. That depends on where you get most of your money. So even though our finances and our personnel are separate, we're considered a component unit. And when you look at the audit, it will say St. Mary's County Library is a component unit of the county. We are. So the audit is correct on that point. What's that? It's just where we get most of our funding. And that's how it's going to get defined, where you get most of your funding.
So that's from the SCP?
That's from the audit, the auditors.
think what they actually said was because we get so much money, treat us as though by St. Mary's County government. And I don't think that's are in the sense of
No, our finances, our personnel, so we don't go through their procurement process, we don't use their payroll system, we don't have to go through their HR. We do have the MOU, which is wonderful, where we get benefits through the county. But no, we're not an official county unit in financially, for example. Organizational climate survey is the last day to submit your responses as a senior county employee is today. And so far we have, how many, what's it, 41 people have applied. Now, some people are not eligible to apply. So for example, the library director does not take this and skew the results and talk about how wonderful it is to work here. Deputy director doesn't log in. Most of our pages, the like 12-hour employees don't even have time to get online and do this. Their job is to go out and shelve books. But that's going to be the majority of the customer service librarian and assistant branch managers who will be applying. So I'll be presenting the results of that to you next month, so you can get some sense of employee satisfaction here at St. Mary's County. As you already know, Belinda and Mary Ann did RFPs and did product testing for a new HR and payroll system, and that's being implemented now. And come mid-December, we will be using it. We were asked to ensure that the mobile library visits rural area in a regular and predictable cadence. And as I reported to you, yes, we have that. And we are looking at the stops and making sure that they're being done efficiently. And we also go to some private locations, and that schedule has been formalized and we advertise it and you can see it. So I think that that one's done, and the mobile library is doing very well.
Is this the tactical plan for the fiscal year?
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year.
Yes.
For FY25.
So when we came up with a strategic plan, you, the trustees, said we want to see implementation year by year. And so I developed this tactical plan in response to that. So this starts on July 1 and ends June 30th.
So in that vein, I think it would help if it was labeled that way. In a lot of these documents, we have so much paper. It would help if you dated them, just for our use. This one for FY is technical FY25. Just all the documents we get, as many as you can. If people put the date on them, sure. If you're just reissuing something, I don't think
you'll be seeing this.
I don't know if there's different versions sometimes come out or updates to things.
Yeah, you'll be seeing this probably every month. I thought you wanted to keep track of it, but I will make sure that it's dated for that month for you.
No, I mean just
in this case, you want the fiscal year.
20, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
In case we have another one, and
yeah. You do get a lot of paper. This board, you do a lot of work. This is a very busy board, and we have to know a lot of things. So I thank you for your service. It requires a lot of dedication to be on this board.
I think, Michael, in the interest of time, are there kind of like key tactics you want to highlight that have been implemented or not been implemented?
I would say that personalized meeting suggestions is important and something that we're doing. I would say that the moving forward on the building enhancements, the AV equipment in Charlotte Hall and Lexington Park is pretty darn important.
Which one is that?
That's on page, I don't remember the pages, but it's item number 45.
45. Thank you.
Number 46, you put it as one of my goals to increase bilingual capabilities of the library. So far, we have doubled the collection size in Hispanic materials. I don't know if you saw that the last library newsletter went out in Spanish in some items and in English. And right now, I believe it's next week, but Laura can correct me if it was this week. We're having a meeting of a committee to look at all the signs in the library. And the problem with signs in libraries, most people don't read them. So we really rely more on staff being out there answering questions. But we will be looking at all the signs, and people who will decide, and the library will decide which ones we think really ought to be bilingual as well, and then we will get them translated. In-house action. I would say that of all those, we're working on the Youth Focus Makerspace at Lexington Park. We received a $20,000 grant, and we've got donations for that. So I'd say those are probably the most important of those.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments on the tactical plan? It's great to see how much it's targeted.
Have you, I see you have the information on 28 store, every door, direct mail.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to do every single one of these. We looked into it, and that's going to be pretty expensive to do. It's sending out mailings about library things, and the program itself, we just don't have a funding stream for it. I think, that was a recommendation from the consultant, and I don't think we're going to end up doing that one because of cost, but we can try to budget for it in the future.
It's also something that we're discussing with Smyrla. There's with Calvert Charles, St. Mary's marketing people meet with Smyrla every month. And it's something I brought up to that team that maybe it's something that Smyrla could help us fund. So I don't know if that's gonna work out, but it is another place where we're considering. Now they do it for all 3 counties, but I figure that's would help them too.
I think it's an excellent idea, if it is affordable, because that's just another avenue getting information out.
Right. We talked about doing like a new resident one, like for new new move-ins or something, kind of like a welcome thing. So that was one of the ideas, or kind of campaign specific, like to households that meet certain criteria. So it has been something that we've been discussing, but there's no firm plans right now.
All right, well, moving forward then and accelerating pace somewhat, you have a sheet that lists the grants that have been received so far this fiscal year, and a list of grants that we have submitted, and then some that we have in the pipeline, and in fact, AMR grants manager is not here today because there's deadlines on 2 of these today, so she is making sure that those get in. We're hopeful to get a $27,000 cybersecurity grant, which we would be using to upgrade our network, especially to separate the public from the staff sort of networks. We don't think it's a big security hazard, but that would be best practice. And we can get a $10,000 or $20,000 grant, and we are considered a small rural library, believe it or not, to increase accessibility of our various services. So that's just kind of a listing of where we are with getting grants right now. And we are considering applying for a couple more, but we will update you on those on an ongoing basis. Any questions about that one?
Cybersecurity, also doing Charles.
Yes. For example, we have Know It Now, which periodically sends out very legitimate looking emails that will say something like, "This is Michael," and it will have my fake email address. "I need you to send 4 Amazon cards to me, give me the numbers." And it looks like it comes from me, but if you click on it and click to do it, it says, now you get training. And you have to take a webinar training about knowing how to look out for spam, knowing how to look out for phishing. And
farm raised versus wild caught.
Exactly, yeah. So it's We do substantial training, and Sarah has training about this. So I don't think that we're going to see a big threat from that, but it's always a little.
What is LSTA?
Library Services and Technology Act, that's federal government funding that goes down to states. And it goes to the state and is distributed on a competitive basis.
The state and sites,
Yeah, the state, you do grant applications,
and PLA.
Public Library Administration, I'm sorry, Public Library Association. They're a division of the American Library Association.
LTC access. So they're top page.
Libraries transforming communities.
And that's a grant, there's another acronym, but it's basically a small library association. So those are kind of like official government, I'm sorry, official library organizations where they're grant funding available. Moving on to a capital grants update. I've had a meeting with Gary Whipple, Ben Clark, and Randy Mazinski from the County Building Authority. And Ben is the project manager for library building projects. And I don't know if you noticed, but after 4 years, they actually are fixing the concrete out Trustees. Still working. So when I look at Lexington Park is going to get replaced in the autumn of 2025, that will not be part of the capital funding that we have. We're going to have to close Lexington Park next fall, a year from now, for about 2 days.
Sorry, did you hear what was being replaced?
The chiller,
So.
we're told that the fire alarm system at Charlotte Hall is outdated. It will be upgraded. Again, that's not going to come from any grant funding, or I'm sorry, capital funding that's allocated to us. So currently we have $47,070 in capital improvements set aside for fiscal year 26 and $5,579,450 in fiscal year 2028. So that most of that money for fiscal year 28 was originally set aside for Lexington Park, and we've explained that Charlotte Hall is 18 years older than Lexington Park. Lexington Park will have the maker stage. We've moved the shelving there. We've done some upgrades. We think that Charlotte Hall really should be getting most of the money for this. And so Gary's going to prepare a scope of work. He's going to look at the capital improvement plan, which has to be approved by the county commissioners coming up pretty soon here. And he'll prepare a scope of work for July of next year, so July 2025. That's going to allocate that 47,000, and he says he'll double it. Why do we need that money? Because to get grants from the state, and I've sat on the grants committee that gives away 7.5 million a year. And for example, Calvert County got $3 million. You really have to have your ducks in a row. You need an architectural plan. You need a construction schedule. You need construction estimates. And we had all that ready for Leonard Town Library. That's one of the reasons why we get 1.6 million. So we really, before fiscal year 28 comes along, have to have all this ready to go. In fact, probably by the spring of 2026, we need all that ready to submit I wanted to get a $2 million grant application in. Hope we'll get at least one. And the county's going to put $1 million match into the CIP. So,
Okay, so back up. So you're talking about planning for Charlotte Hall upgrades.
Yeah.
Not, this is, we're beyond the chiller and the fire alarm.
yes, I'm sorry, we're moving on those two.
So those two, the county pays for.
Yeah, I was going to, they haven't been done.
We don't need to worry about
We
that.
don't have to worry about
Okay, so we're talking about hall replacement. So you're talking about initial phase of requirements analysis, architectural drawing,
Yes.
environmental studies with the county, and then what is it that we need in addition for hall?
Well, we have to have an architect on board. We'll have to have a plan. Here's what the architect says can be done for this amount of money. And
But I mean, we first need to decide, and I don't know, this is a multiplayer deal is, what is the dream for Charlotte Hall? And we talked, you know, I think last year about some options of just doing more of a facelift, refresh, expanding the space,
well, and
going to another
you're going to
space.
be involved with that process next fall.
So that's where this is leading to,
yeah.
getting into that
Yeah,
process.
next July of 2025, funding is going to be available to start that.
Okay, and who would be the lead on that? Architect or?
Well, if it goes in accordance with Leonardtown, the county will be the ones doing the RFP. They will be the ones who officially hire the architect, but we have full input. And last time it was me and Mary Ann. And then we meet with the architect to formulate the plans.
Do you do anything, I mean, I know we just did a strategic plan, we got a lot of input, but do you do anything with the public, public input or public?
Yes, we
What do you
do,
want to
but
see?
that doesn't tend to be part of the initial architectural planning. That tends to be more like, all right, we've got the money, here's what we're planning, here's the architectural plans, you get to see them. And we have public meetings where, yes, the public is invited. This is a very involved process. And then eventually there'll have to be a request for a construction company to come in, and the county will do that, and the county commissioners are the ones who approve that.
So the initial, said you want to ask 2 million, but possibly get 1 million by next summer.
No, starting next summer, we'll be able to start preparing to ask for that. We'll ask for that in the spring of 2026.
Because we'll have our ducks in a row, go to the state, say.
Yeah, and there's a process for submitting, and then a committee is formed and they review the plans and the proposals and allocate 7.5 million. And it's on a competitive basis, so we really need to. I would brag on myself for a minute. For a couple of years, I used my proposal for Leonardtown as a template for how to do it.
How much did they give us for Leonardtown?
1.6 million.
And the beaches got 3 million.
Yeah, but back then they weren't giving away as much money.
Yeah, okay.
They were only giving away 5 million. And the beaches was fortunate to come along at a time when it was one of the strongest proposals, and there were some where I'm going to stop talking here because I don't want to give away what is supposed to be a non-public process for giving away that money, but I will say that they have one of the strongest proposals with the 7.5 million.
Back for the home, is DPW also going to be involved with design, construction, and all that kind of
Yes,
stuff? For,
they actually need that.
no, but for makerspace,
No.
building something in that.
Yeah, it's going to depend upon getting some grant funding, but yes, you can put in, and the county will be advised about this, but they don't have to do the installation. We can hire within the space to do things ourselves. And they've approved the use of the facility for it.
Like,
Well,
we're talking about the line between, it's not our building, we don't make capital improvements.
These will not be permanent structure walls. For example, you can buy glass walls that are installable. And it'll probably be something like that. We're not going to actually do construction walls for it.
And electric.
They will likely run.
HVAC impacts by putting up walls.
Because they are not ceiling height walls in the center of the library, the minimal HVAC impacts, and their building services staff will likely run electric to the area for us to be able to plug in all of our.
It is a decent increase. It's not like they're gonna not be involved, but they don't have to oversee the project so much as assist in it.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, just to make it clear, so the library would then own those materials that we're putting in there. So we own everything inside the building. And the county owns the building itself. And we're very good about looking at them to make sure that everything we have. So in terms of, just to bring this this discussion to a conclusion, I don't know with that amount of money, if we're going to be able to expand the building or not. That's going to be something for an architect to determine. But I would like to add 2,000 to 5,000 square feet to the building if possible, completely restructure inside. Maybe use the current lobby for study spaces and have a different entrance into it. I want us to think really big about this. Charlotte Hall needs to pop. It needs to be a place that people walk into and say, wow. I don't know if you've been up there or not. Nothing against the Charlotte Hall staff, but the building's very old. Windows are rather small. We want something that's going to be an ornament for the community. And right now, I think that it really could use all that love and connection.
How much space does Charlotte have?
We have 10,500 square feet, and Smyrna has about 9,000.
So if they moved on, we get that space right there.
Yeah, that's going to require quite a bit of work. We have an MOU with the state, and I don't think you're going to convince Smyrna to go. Let's not talk about an organization which brings us quite a bit of money, including our email system, including our catalog. Nope.
It's nothing about organization, logistics of it, it's a possibility.
No, I think you find the state very hostile to that. Something that you wish to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that we need a space and another. I think it's just a possibility that gives us an enormous amount of space, and also for community use that we don't have up there. Just saying it's a possibility.
I just say you better think very carefully before you move in that direction, but you would certainly say, let's think about it.
All right, let's keep moving.
We are at contracts review update, and I'm sorry that this is not easier to read. In Excel format, it read just fine, but I need to better space this and put in some lines between the different cells. But this is just when we're going to be reviewing different contracts, and we've talked to you before about contracts that are kind of eligible for renewal. We are currently assessing waste management. Paychecks is being redone. We reviewed Hoopla, and we'll be doing that on an ongoing basis. And the others are scheduled to be reviewed over a 3-year period.
Any questions or comments about this?
I see the vehicle insurance in here. What about the E&O insurance?
If you're talking about state auto, that's all our insurances. That's just the company that they're with. That is selective insurance.
That's the 15,000, what the broker gets, or is that the cost of the current coverage?
That's what we pay for the coverage.
That's our insurance premiums.
Yes.
Any comments or discussions?
The next one is the annual report to the Maryland State Library. Michael, you reviewed Maryland Code and said, gee, it looks like we have to report two things back to the state each year. We have to give them, and to the county, we have to give them an audit, and we have to give them an annual report. So this is our annual report. Each year about this time, I get a request for it. So there's two ways you can do it. You can either just send in the annual report, you release it to the public, while ours is digital only. So then they just give you a form you can fill out, and this is what it looks like. And I've been doing this for 9 years now. So this is your annual report. We've never been late on it. And it has everything that they ask for actually and more. You see that the first page on front and back is what they asked for, and after that, it's optional information. So this is our annual report back to the state.
Who was named as the stud?
As the what?
Stud. We're on the second line.
Study rooms. Use our, I'm sorry, there's something kind of, good thing I haven't said it in. So use our citrus study room, something got caught out there for some reason. Yeah, study room use.
Fine.
I would say that I'm moderately confused by this report here, this 2-pager. Then what I see online is the Harris County annual report. Another document that requests the Harris County annual report. So the board issued the annual report, not the director. And when I'm looking at these documents, I don't see where it meets the Maryland law. Things are required by law to be in this report, including the results of the financial statement audit, which hasn't even been issued yet. So why are we disconnected here?
This is what I'm asked about each year and do. And so this is our annual report, and this is, you know, I forwarded the email to Michael. This is what they asked for. It's what on that first 2 pages.
Okay, I see you're getting requests from Maryland for information.
Yes.
Okay, I'm talking about this document. St. Mary's County Library annual report.
Oh, that's just the marketing piece.
Yeah, that's,
Okay,
that's
so
not,
where is our annual report from Board of Trustees that says that delineates the items that have to be in that annual report, including the results of the audit?
that's what this is.
You know,
Yes, it is actually. This is what the state asked for, and we have to submit this to the state.
Are you saying that the board within your own bylaws has an annual report requirement?
yes.
Oh, and I don't know.
It's in the legislation.
Yeah.
It says the board shall issue.
So we
But
can only
that's what
issue, we
this
can only
is.
issue one annual report. Can't have
So wait,
multiple annual
Judah,
reports.
let me ask you, what is in the law that is not included in this?
The amount of money received from the library fund and other sources, I think that might be in there. Itemized expenses, not in there. Number of books and periodicals the library has, the results of the annual audit.
Everything's in there, but obviously the audit is always reported separately.
I don't see the collection numbers. I see.
Yeah, they're in there. Total
Material
circulation,
count.
physical items.
And when you say circulation, there's
You know, the number of items are in there too.
Okay.
So we count print, physical
So-
video, physical audio.
okay, so we don't have the financial statement.
No, that's not ready until the audit comes and we send that in separate.
Okay, I don't know why. Because part of the report, and again, the report is issued by the Board of Trustees, not the director. How can we issue a report that trustees didn't see before it was issued? I don't understand the disconnect here between this is our report.
Well, actually, that's been delegated to me. If you wish to do it yourselves, that's fine.
I will forward you the email you made, but it's just statistical information. There's nothing.
It's not. It
Yes,
has
it
to
is.
be.
What's not statistical about all of these things?
You finish your thought?
Yeah. This is the public document that represents the library, it represents the board endorsement of this report, including the financial information that has to be in this report, not separate, but part of this report. It's a public document.
That would imply that we would sign off.
That we would review, approve, and vote on it like every other library board. I've been through at least 12 other counties in the state, and all of them have that information in here delineated by law, including the financial statement information issued by the Board of Trustees,
This
including
has,
their names, signature, et cetera.
this is
Somehow
what
we're
they've
not.
always asked me for.
I
and I've
understand that's
always
what the
provided
state
that.
might be asking you for, but that's not what we're required to do by law, to produce this document and to make it public. And I don't see where we're hitting this point. I think what you're submitting to Maryland is one requirement. What the code requires us to do is something different.
Well, we
So if
do,
you were to take something like this and
that's just our marketing fees.
And
correct it,
that's what we use like to give to the
Yes.
commissioners and that.
but it has a lot of information. in
It does,
It
yeah, it
has
has
a
a
lot
lot
of
of the same data points.
So something like this, which is what most other counties do. And you add your itemized expenses and funding as a final page.
Well, as I
It's one
told
page
you,
off the audit.
what the state counts is you can simply submit your annual report as prepared for the public, that counts. Or you can do this. Now, we only do really a virtual annual report, a digital one. We don't do a print one for the library.
Well, this year we did, but you just have, we switched back to print because the board requested that last year is a print version, so that's what you have right there, is that's the one that we've released to the public each
Yeah.
fiscal year. That's pretty crazy.
At the end of the day, I do still have this question also about just the language of the legislation, which makes me think that, this document, to my eyes, seems to comply with the law, minus the audit, which we don't have. But I do wonder, should this become an action item that the board approves to be in compliance with the law, saying that the board shall issue a report?
And we can't have two different annual reports. You can't have two different annual reports. An organization has one annual report. So we've got two different documents saying two different things, and they both say annual report on them. There's one annual report from the library. It has to be combined into one document. And that just means you hold this, you wait till we have our financial statements, you complete it, and then we issue it from the board.
So you would like to drop the marketing one, don't prepare that one.
Well, I think it has to be amended and then issued when it's complete. I don't think it's a should, it's a shall. The board of trustees shall issue a report.
Yes, but I think you're talking about a slightly different issue, right?
Well, it doesn't matter what it looks like.
No, but I think there's a lot of value of having a very publicly accessible, user-friendly, beautiful document like that, right?
And it can be annual report.
Sure, I mean, there are many ways to go about it.
I mean, that's what other libraries do. It basically looks like this, but has the financial information from it and it's issued by the board.
But the board didn't issue that document, the library did.
Yeah,
Right.
he's saying it should have been issued by the board, but we should not be doing
That
that.
you should not do
As
because
staff.
the annual report comes from the board.
Or
Or you
can
may delegate a report as you have the last
I
9 years.
don't think we can delegate our
Yes, but it's
responsibility.
worked for 9 years.
Well, it's not the law says.
It hasn't been looked at for
It's not the law says. We did.
This is from the state library, for the people we reported to, this is what they've asked for.
That's fine. If you're sending them an email with information they're asking for, but I'm talking about the law requires us to do. They're not concerned with that. We are.
So I think that this can be the annual report required by the law. We could make this an action item, approve it, keep this beautiful document for the public and call it year in review instead of annual.
Or we've
report.
also called it the community impact
year.
report.
Or
We have also used the term community impact
Yes,
report,
yes.
and we can do that as well. Like we can, if we want to keep both documents but not have the name of the same thing, we can still do that. We do like to release this one because we meet with the commissioners twice a year. And this is a very easy place for us to pull from for the fall meeting. So we do like to have it ready at the end of the fiscal year for that reason, for the political reason. because it's such an easy document to pull from for talking points.
Yeah, this has been a very successful document, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
But we can rename it. That's very easy to do.
And you're right, if you took off the word annual report and you leave on community impact, that would be sufficient.
Okay.
But this report, even if you can add financial statements to here when it's finished and make it public, doesn't look like much of an annual report though. I don't think it reflects well on the county, on the libraries. But that's something that's kind of aesthetics.
Well, but this is what the Maryland State Library, who are the ones we were responsible for sending to, asks for.
And that's fine, you can continue to send this to them, but it's not the annual report from the trustees. You're
Well,
responding to a data call, basically.
if you want to make this an action item and make it your annual report, you may. But we will not have the financial information in time, and it does ask for an annual report by November 1st, which is why we do it this time of year.
Right, well,
Well,
it is an action item, but we can't vote on it until we have our statements, right?
If we're sliding the deadline anyway, about submitting stuff, but just.
It would be like the same meeting, once the annual statements, the annual audit is approved by the board, then we could move to take this statement out of, our financial position statement out of audit, it's one page, and attach it to this. And that would be your requirements.
Well, I'd like you to go ahead and formalize this if that's what you want to do, but it requires.
Why? It's already in law.
Well, no, because that's not the procedure you've been using. I'd like you to say, here's what I'd like the board to do and agree on it.
I think the board should follow the law.
Well, I think we already lost.
Okay. So what is the question before us? The question is, we make this an action item to formally approve it as a board in order to comply with the law, right? Is that where we are?
As
I would say the action item is for the board to issue an annual report, meets the requirements of the law. Once the financial statements are approved.
This is due to the state by November 1st.
Yes.
Have the financial statement, so that would be in violation if we're not submitting this and the information that we have available when it's due. So I don't see that waiting for an audit that's not here.
We're still violating the law because we're not submitting a complete report.
But you don't have the information to send in, so you send in what you have to comply with the state requirement. When the audit comes in, that goes to the state as a part of the requirement.
I mean, but why? I mean, Michael's already gonna notify them that our statements are gonna be late.
What if those numbers are different than what's on the page?
No, these numbers come right off of our budget sheets, and they've already been reviewed by the accountants. The audit, remember, includes things that have nothing to do with our actual budget that we don't have any control over. For example, the amount that the state contributes towards employee retirement, money we never see. I mean, these are our budget numbers. They've already been finalized.
Well,
We know how much we got from the county.
I agree with John, but we as the board have not seen those numbers. So we can't, I mean, you can't approve a report that's not finished anyway.
You see
So
them,
I say we wait till next
you
month.
see them every month.
Every month.
You see them every month. These are the figures you see every month.
These are not audited. These are not
This-
audited figures.
I'm sorry, this is Belinda. Just so you know, you do actually see that number. We actually provided, I think last month, we gave you that overview of what we thought FY25 was going to look like. For the most part, we said it was very, it was like 90% done. There may be there's always the depreciation and all of that, but those numbers are presented to you by at least August or the 1st of September with a pretty clear view of how we are ending up. Not a complete audit, but a clear view of how FY previous fiscal year ended.
So why do we have an annual audit?
Well,
It's
that's Judith.
required by law.
Because
Judith, what are you getting at?
the reason we have an audit is to verify your numbers with an independent authority. So yes, we see budget numbers every year, but they have not been audited. So if we're gonna make a statement under law that these numbers are correct, we're going to look at audited numbers.
So you're saying we need to wait for the audit to do it?
Yes.
Oh, so now, anybody who hasn't spoken wants to chime in?
Approved portion of part one. Scarlett's just so what I want to call it. That's a and your report might be so part two.
Got it. So to review to approve this report as written for now, with the date of this report, knowing that the second chunk of the audit is. Even though Judith would say we can't review these numbers because we don't have it. Right.
Well, I'm saying I would vote that because I haven't seen audited numbers.
To which I would add, what if some of the audited numbers we have objections to can be sent it back?
All right, we do know these numbers that are in here. We know that there's not going to change. We know how much the state gives us. We know how much the county gives us. We know what our grant total was.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what's reported here. That's what they asked for. We know those numbers. They're not going to change.
I think as a board, we also. Elizabeth,
I'm
please
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Also, I know, Judith, you're right. They haven't been fully audited. However, but that final report that we show you before the final audit has actually gone through the auditor and the accountant. I don't provide that number until it has been through that. So the less things we wait for on the audit are the depreciations and the state retirement calculation and all of that. So by the time you see that number, it has been through the auditor and the accountant.
What about the
All right, so I think at this point, we could entertain a motion to approve this annual report as it currently stands in order to move to compliance with the law. And then when the audit comes, we're gonna have to approve the audit anyway and do all of the audit related stuff. But for the time being, with that November 1 deadline coming up, my thought would be to approve this annual report as written. Yes, fix the spelling mistake. Regarding the study rooms.
Yes, and study rooms.
So does anybody want to make a motion to approve this report as written with these spelling mistakes? John, make a motion. Second. Just a second thing. Any more discussion? All right, let's take a vote, see where we land. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. 4. Any, we'll do opposed and abstain. Any opposed? 2 opposed. All right, the motion does pass. So we'll approve this report as written now.
That includes under our signature.
Yes. All right, Michael, security updates?
We are really running short on time here. I can hold off those 2 items till next time. They're not pressing. And in fact, next time I will, for the state standards, have a revised policy for you to consider. As I emailed you, we only just got the state standards for the Freedom to Read Act yesterday. And we're already pretty much in compliance, but there's just 2 points I want to make doubly certain on. And those are
Those are what I indicated in an email to you yesterday. They are an acknowledgement that all Marylanders have the freedom to read, and an affirmation that it's the responsibility of the library to provide adequate library services to satisfy the diverse needs of their users. I want to make certain that we have those statements explicitly covered, but the policy certainly implies them already. So I will just have a little bit of reading update on our collection and materials policies for you. And staff save the date December 6th at Lexington Park Library, 9 in the morning. You're welcome to attend. And with that, we come to an end of the informational items.
I would like to take a 5-minute break before we move to action items. Anybody willing to make a motion? Do it. Question. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes. 5-minute break.
No. I'm not hearing anything. Testing. Testing.
Testing audio.
Testing? Can you hear me, Linda? Oh, wait, it's the wrong one.
Yes.
That's the wrong.
Testing again. Much clearer.
Sounds good here.
Back on. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes, I can.
great. All right, welcome back, everybody. Good job on the break. Let us move into action items. Michael.
Okay, the first one is the exempt Department of Labor salary update and salary scale adjustment approval. So here's what's happened is the Fair Labor Standards Act's minimum wage and overtime protections are being changed as of January 1st of 2025. So right now, people who make $844 a week, the equivalent of $43,888, may be considered to be exempt employees. So they're not eligible for overtime. They may put in our case, over 35 hours a week on salary. On January 1st of 2025, that amount is going up to $1,128 per week. So that's the equivalent of $58,656 per year. Now, we have some exempt employees, they're assistant branch managers who are below the threshold. So our proposal to you is to adjust the salary scale so that people who are at assistant branch manager level, and we're talking about 10 people here, will be raised above the threshold. And the proposal is we currently have a 12 level salary scale. And we would insert a new line into it. It's going to become a new grade 7, which you'll see starts at exactly what the minimum for the new Fair Labor Standards Act would be. Now, I should point out that that's going to change that level of salary, but nobody above it is. We're not asking for an increase on anybody above it. We're going to adjust people back down on the salary scales where they are, so that moving forward, we will have those 10 employees all above the minimum, and they may stay exempt. And we've got a breakdown for you of what the total cost of that would be, which is $13,208.97 from January 1 through July 30 of next year. And so all the assistant branch managers would then be exempt status, retain their exempt status. So that is what we were requesting.
Got a little lost in the verbiage there. So 7 gets adjusted upward.
We're actually inserting a new level into it, which will be the new grade 7. Yes, yes, 7, grade 7 currently. Now you see it's 58,000.
Oh, Judith, is your mic on?
So you're changing the dollar amounts for step 7,
Yes,
increasing them.
yes.
But then I heard you say above that, we're not doing anything.
Well, no, above that, to avoid compression, there are some increases. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. I'm looking at last year. No, right now, that's just the only thing that's happening.
It's
And
actually
can
grade
we make
7.
those-
Yes, grade
It's
7.
It's actually grade 7 and 8 because our assistant branch managers are on both of those levels.
Right, so that's to avoid the compression there. Yeah. So grade 8.
It's just, we keep those, we're just eliminating compression between grade 7 and 8 because they're the same position. But grades 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 all stay the same. No changes in salaries, no changes in the scale, no changes from 6 and up to 1 either. It's just grade 7 and 8 that change.
So that's what we're looking for the total amount to do this and keep those employees exempt.
So this would cost 13,000 for January through July.
January through
2025.
July, yes.
And does
Uh,
this money
it's-
just come from the January through June?
Yes, it's January. through
June, yes.
30th.
June
And
30th, yeah.
It's 13,000 above the budgeted amount.
Right. So does that just come from the fund balance? Where does that 13K come from?
Well, as I pointed out to you, so far, we're at 23% of salary expenses on 25% of the year having passed. So we think that it will be covered in the long run and that we will not go over budget on that line. We think that it's going to be within what we got for the year.
Okay. So I think we can entertain a motion to approve this salary scale adjustment, if anyone wishes to so move. Thank you, Tressa.
Second.
Thank you, John. Further discussion?
The only question I have is about the labels in the right-hand column.
What labels are these?
What's the question?
The last 2 rows labeled grade 12.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said the last 2 rows both are labeled grade 12 in the right-hand column.
That's my fault. I'm sorry, I forgot to change it when I added 1. It should be a grade 13 on the last one.
Grade 13 on all the way on the right where it says grade 12 for both 12 and 13 on the far bottom right. It should be grade 13 at the bottom is all.
The footnote on the bottom is kind of cut off. It says pay scale 2% COLA, grades 6 and 7. Is it 6 and 7 or 7 and 8?
So Belinda, please. We've inserted a new grade 7 as it were.
Yeah. It's grades 6, 7, and 8 in a way. We didn't adjust grade 6, but it changed who was in grade 6. And then we adjusted grade 7, which affected grade 8. So that's just my title that I typed in to save it. That's just my literal, like how I saved it on my drive.
Yeah,
it
that's the name
prints
of
down there so that I can find it. Yeah, it's my file name, so I can find it.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Are we ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Do, only because I'm lost in the numbers.
Okay. Thank you, John. John abstains. The motion passes.
Okay. For our next item, we have a citizen proposal to change the Maryland Code for libraries on the length of terms of the Library Board of Trustees from 5 years to 3. The proposal also recommends that there be a further restriction on the term of service if a trustee is first appointed to a partial term. That trustee could then possibly serve 2 more full terms as is currently allowed, but of 3 years, but only 1 additional term if their initial first term was for less than 1/2 of that term. So it was submitted to the county commissioners with the request that they vote to move it through up to the Maryland delegation and become state legislation to change library code. The county commissioners have directed this over to you, the library trustees, for your recommendation. They want you to vote on it today. I will relay the result of that to county legal. They will be guided by you in this matter. They will not act independently. And I want to thank the county commissioner you in this way. I'm sure this proposal is well-intentioned, but in my capacity as advisor to the board, I urge you to vote it down and not to allow it to go forward. Here's the reasons why it argues. It would encourage more citizens to apply to be trustees because 5 years is a daunting commitment. It would reduce the possible buildup of entrenched interest, bring fresh points of view by bringing in younger, and I use the word younger as a direct quotation, employees into the board with new points of view, which an older, and it uses might not do. It's also concerned about that a trustee could serve for nearly 15 years on the board.
I think, Michael, before you share your thoughts, I think, John, since you're the person who kind of raised this issue, could you kind of give us a little context if you want to kind of introduce this or share any thinking beyond what's written here before Michael shares his thoughts and we have a broader discussion?
Well, I'm going by what I see by being on this board. And I've seen people rotate off, people who have dropped off for personal or business reasons. And I take a look at what is generally considered a kind of, I won't call it the standard, but a reasonable term of service, which is 3. And in my opinion, the population out there, when they learn of an opening, such as we have from time to time, 5 years, I don't know if I can stand up for 5 years, but I'd give it a shot for 3. I think we're more in what is in line with public service boards. And as for the second part, I think that if you come in on a vacated term, depending on when you come in, I don't think you should necessarily be allowed the full 2-term follow-on. Older and younger, those are relative terms. I'm older in this room. Everybody else at the table is younger. So I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that. But I do think that the possibility of casting a wider net up front and then accelerating to some degree the turnover on the board is a healthy thing going forward.
Okay, thank you, John. Michael, what do you think?
All right, well, first of all, I want to take up this matter of older and younger. I think that the proposal is badly phrased. If you look around, you'll see that the average age on this board is younger than that of the county commissioners. So I don't think that the really should be talking about age unless we want to call this a very ageist document. So let's talk about more experienced and less experienced, or more longer terms of service or lesser terms of service, and leave out the words older and younger, if we may.
Well, why don't we, I think we can set the semantics aside. You know, it's
Okay.
clear enough where John's going.
All right, well, let's go ahead and then look at the claims. First of all,
look
the
at the
claim
merits.
that a 3-year term might encourage more citizens to apply. We have no problem with people applying. We've had as many as 24 people apply for a single position on the library board of trustees. So that's not a problem for us. We have lots and lots of people who are willing to serve on this board for 5 years. So this is really a solution in search of a problem as far as this board is concerned. Let's look at that 5-year term. It's not out of line with other boards. I'm on the museum board. It's a 5-year term. Now, you've served with the board of trustees. We talked earlier about how much work this board takes and what amount of dedication it takes to be on this board. Frankly, I don't want people who might be daunted by a 5-year term. The library would be better served by somebody who's going to look at this and say, I want to serve because I care about the library. We need people who are dedicated and engaged. This library has seen public controversy. Members of this board have been publicly attacked for standing up for the good of the library. Do I want somebody who's going to be daunted? No, I don't think we want that. Let's also dismiss concerns about length of service, about somebody serving almost 15 years. In my time, we have had a trustee who served for 14 years, Carolyn Guy. She led the library through difficult times, and her experience and knowledge of Maryland libraries gained through those years helped us through that time. She's still on the Friends Board. She's still on the Foundation Board. If that's the library spirit of somebody serving for nearly 15 years, we do not need fewer such people. We need. Let's talk about entrenched interests. I look around and I don't see any on this board. but I'd like to deal with it in the context of the Maryland Code. Maryland libraries are established to be free of political influence. And those were reconfirmed most recently in the overwhelming passage of the freedom to. Libraries are bulwarks of democracy that ensure that all Maryland residents have the right to read. That 5-year term was put in as state law as part of that aspect of establishing of political influence. They don't want short. They want long people who will help provide stability to libraries. If there's any entrenched interest, it should be to keep Maryland libraries as they are established in code, free of political influence, and a 5-year term helps with that. And I can give you a specific example of how it will help. Just this year in Carroll County, here's what happened. The commissioners voted to rescind library funding. Why? Because they claimed the library director supported the Freedom to Read Act. Why is that a problem? Because their school board, which had been taken over by members of Mon for Liberty, voted to take 58 books out of the school library. And the passage of the Freedom to Read Act would prevent that school board from doing so. The commissioners voted to rescind library funding and attack the library director. The library board stood up for the library director and got public opinion moving to bring it back. Do you think those commissioners are going to say, gee, it'd be nice to have these people around for 5 years? They want them to turn over. This 5-year term is essential for helping protect Maryland libraries' neutrality. Now, so not only then if we have a sort of a solution looking for a problem, we don't have any problem getting applicants. We don't have entrenched interest. This board does consider new policies and procedures. This also goes against the wise laws that Maryland has established, but I'm going to give you another reason.
Michael, if you could wrap it up so
Sure.
we can talk, that'd be great.
Only one member of this board was on it in 2018 when the Southern Maryland delegation took an attempt to change Maryland library law to Annapolis. It did not work well for them. They had to withdraw it rather than see it go down in an overwhelming committee vote against it. If you take this forward, it will not pass again. It would be very tone deaf to do so. The Maryland legislation has just voted overwhelmingly for the Freedom to Read Act. This can and would be perceived as an attempt to weaken libraries in their aim to remain politically neutral, and it won't pass.
All right. So what do folks think?
I agree with pretty much everything that Michael has said. I think one, it is poorly written. But I think it's a 5-year term is not a daunting term. A 5-year term is what I serve on another board that I serve on in the county. It's the term that most other boards that I see are 5 years, because you want someone who is committed to going and learning about the organization that they're on the board for and keeping that experience going, rather than having new people have to scramble and learn everything, which takes some time to get to know things. A 3-year term is just not enough time for that experience to grow. And then having all this other verbiage in here of a half a term and 1.5 terms and whatever else it says. I disagree with this, and I think that we should not entertain it.
I've been on the board not quite 3 years.
Okay. Other thoughts?
I agree with John. I'm definitely still learning things that I am supposed to know about the board. I thought 3 years was a little short, but I could go with 4. I think 4 is good because you're serving 4 and then you're serving 2 more consecutive terms. So that would still be 12. But I think, in my opinion, 3 is a little short. But I don't disagree with the 5. So
The Maryland Library the public administrators of the Maryland libraries did actually discuss that legislation affecting board service does in fact affect other Maryland libraries, that not only this board. So that is
something else to consider.
Yeah, that's her.
No, this is Maryland law. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is
Yeah,
Maryland
yeah.
law for all
Yeah,
libraries.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're aware of that. That's why it's going up to the delegation. I had the same experience when I'm trying to promote the board and think of future trustees, that the 5-year term is a little bit, they get a look. It's 5 years, it's just one term. The advantage of having a shorter term is we have a lot of interested applicants. It gives more people a chance to serve on the board when you shorten the term. And some of those people standing in line would have a better chance of serving on the board. It's the same thing. It's a long time to do 2 terms. I've never done a board with 5 years. 2 or 3 is my experience. I also agree with Dorothy that I could go for 4. I think 3 is just a more reasonable number, and doing 2 3-year terms is a 6-year commitment to the library, and it could be more. It could be 8 or 9. So I'm okay with shortening it because I think it's going to give the opportunity to serve to more people. And we're going to get more voices in here on the board. So whether or not it flies in Annapolis, I'm not concerned with. I think we should vote for what we think is the right thing to do. And then the commissioners and the delegation will take it from there. It may not even get past the commissioners or the delegation. We don't know that. We can only vote for what we think is right for the board. So yeah, I would support it because I'd also be interested in seeing what does happen when it goes up to the delegation and their thoughts on it too.
So I don't know what the legality of this is, but this is what was turned in. Is it amendable?
Yeah, anything's amendable until it gets up to the committee in Annapolis.
But it doesn't matter because you're being asked to vote on this. By today, they want an answer back. Does the board wish to shorten the term or not? Please call for a vote.
No, I mean, we can tell them that we'd
So
like to
you're
shorten it.
saying I could not accede to 4.
No, I think we need to vote on like what is
Right.
written here, because this is
All right, that
this
was
is what
my
the
question.
commissioners want. I will say that in my perspective, I disagree. I do think a 5-year term is better. I think this is a complicated situation that does require a lot of time. I think the 5-year term better insulates us from political pressure than the 3-year term does. And John, I thought this was perfectly well written. So it was clear to me. So
So do I.
there you
Thank
go.
you.
But with respect, I disagree for some of the reasons that have been said. Anybody want to add anything else before we vote? Okay, so the question is, I guess if we can entertain a motion to approve this proposal as written or to indicate the board's approval of this proposal. Would anybody so move? Do we have a motion on the table?
No.
Okay. All right. So can we entertain a motion to offer the library board's support of this proposal?
Is the motion I move to offer the library board's support of this proposal as written? Is that the motion we need?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Judith. Anybody second?
You're going to second, John?
I don't feel that, it's my document. I don't feel that I should be the one to second it. But okay, you want a second? I will.
All right. Thanks, John.
I don't know if that's procedurally correct, but okay, there we go.
Okay. So with the motion on the table, I votes are in support of this document and other votes are not.
And remember, all we're doing, yay or nay, is yes, library does or does not want the commissioners to consider going forward with this. This is multi-steps away from changing the law.
Yeah, true. All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. 2, John and Judith. All those opposed, please say aye.
No. Say no.
So no.
No.
Okay. And that's 4 no's. Okay. So the motion does not.
I will report back to county legal on your decision. Thank you for that. Save the dates. We have next meeting is November 15th at Lexington Park. Oh, I'm sorry. Any new trustee business? Next month, perhaps we'll set aside time to think about, as you discussed last time, what you'd like to do about the OPEB fund. There was substantial discussion, and we'll put it on the agenda to discuss next time. This one was rather full. Thank you. We do have a closed session coming up for personnel. Staff Day is December 6th. Remember, tomorrow at about 10:15, we're going to have the unveiling of the mosaics out here. They are out there already, so you can go see them. If you want to go back to see the artwork in the Maryland History Room, it's back there. Thank you very much. So we can move to closed
So
session.
now we can entertain a motion to move into closed session. We would be doing so under section 3-305B1 to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction. Any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. So can we entertain a motion to close the meeting?
I move that we close the public session and reconvene in closed session under the provisions of the appropriate Maryland law.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you, Dorothy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, moving into closed session. Thanks, everybody.